Hi, Storage Defender is the pioneer and leader of providing smart units as a service. We provide tenants peace of mind over their valuables and facilities more profit per unit. Our smart unit service is very easy to install for our facilities. Tenants of all ages love it because there's no app required. Storage Defender sends a simple text message whenever it sees motion to the tenants. We offer our partners a pay-as-you-grow service model and a complete marketing package to help them maximize their revenue. Reach out to us. Thank you.
Are you a self-storage owner or operator looking for service providers to help at your facility? Well, the Storage Business Owners Alliance, also known as the SBOA, has you covered. The SBOA is a premier online hub for connecting self-storage owners and operators to industry-leading products and service providers. We provide one-stop shopping for your business with exclusive offers to save time and money. At the SBOA, we believe by coming together, we help owners and operators grow revenue, gain purchasing power, reduce expenses, improve efficiencies, and increase profitability. We also offer many resources such as our conferences and self-storage unlock webinars to help self-storage owners and operators gain the knowledge needed to become more competitive in the industry. To become an SBOA member or to find out more information, please visit www.thesboa.com today. We can't wait for you to join the Alliance.
Good morning to everyone here in self-storage. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Iris Segan, and I am the president of the SBOA, also known as the Storage Business Owners Alliance. Before we get started, I have a few quick housekeeping items that I want to share with you. If you have questions for the speaker today, please be sure to put them in the chat. Some of you have already started interacting there. If we don't get to your questions today, we'll make sure that we send you an email with answers, but we try to get to all of your questions live, and that's the whole benefit of joining a live webinar. We do hold most of the questions till the end, but you'll have time at any point during our webinar to ask those questions. So we also will have some poll questions that come up throughout the webinar. Please do take a moment to just type in your answers. That helps us to get to know you better and give you better webinars to come to in the future. Well, as everyone knows, automation has transformed industries across the board, and self-storage is no exception. Today, we're exploring how automation has key functions that not only save time, but significantly reduce operational costs while enhancing the customer experience. So today we're going to discuss enhancing efficiency, identifying investment strategies and opportunities, how other companies are making it work, and future trends. And there'll be more as well. And so as we get started, I want to introduce our guest host today, Mark Sierri. Where is he? There he is. Hi, Mark. How are you?
Hi, Iris. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm home from vacation, and I'm just happy to be here.
Well, it's first of all wonderful to have you co-hosting. You've been doing a lot of work for SBOA for years, and just seeing you here next to me, it's exciting. By the way, as always, I love that chair that you sit on. I think we all want to have a chair like that. Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, before we get started, obviously we really thought about timing this with all that's going on, and I know you guys did some provide some resources on that, but I just want to acknowledge, like, a lot of our friends and family and even people in the storage industry were impacted by Helene. We have a lot of our partners that have had issues, and even some of our peers and colleagues that even lost homes, lost a home, at least one that I can think of up in the North Carolina area. And then last night, many were impacted, some escaped, a lot of people without power in the Florida area. So, I mean, as an industry, because we're all over the United States for sure, we have a lot of friends and contacts and colleagues that were impacted. I just want to acknowledge that. And you know, I think some of the resources that you guys put out and are making available, just want to acknowledge that. Like, yeah, it was a lot. A lot of us were sweating it out, and a lot of people have been impacted.
Yes, our hearts definitely go out to them, and we will be sharing those resources again in the chat, as well as at the end of the webinar today. And that same slideshow that we had at the beginning will be in the resources folder that everyone will get with their follow-up email to the webinar.
Yeah. So, and as you said, look, I think just a couple things that have set this up and why we decided to place the focus here. We're ending the year. It was a tough year. I mean, we've had great years in the past several, but this last year, we're seeing lower occupancies across the industry. Rates have been compressed. You're hearing a lot about the REITs using teaser rates. Labor costs are not going in the right direction. And so as an industry, we've got to look at things like automation. And so we decided to pull together a panel that, yes, is focused on many companies are doing their operational budgeting for next year for CapEx and expenses. How can we bring that in and bring people that are actually living in it right now and operator leaders that are living in that right now to provide insight? So I think it's going to be an awesome panel, Iris.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for putting this all together. Your team is always so gracious in helping us out. And I was able to go on vacation last week and I had no worries. So special shout out to Brooke, even though we won't see her today. We know she's watching.
She is.
Okay. Thank you,
Iris. I'll be back.
Okay. All right. Next up, we have Matt Phillips. Hi, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Iris?
I am okay. Matt is with Prestige Storage, excuse me. And Matt, can you tell everybody a little bit about you and what you guys do?
Sure, I'd love to. So again, my name is Matt Phillips. I'm the VP of Operations at Prestige Storage. We operate 63 properties across 8 states and are headquartered in Columbus, Ohio. Prior to Prestige, I was with Public Storage overseeing North Carolina and parts of South Carolina. So while at Public Storage, I got my feet wet with automation, as Charlotte, where I live, is the first market to pilot both online rentals as well as kiosks. And over the past 18 months since joining Prestige, I've continually been trying to find solutions to improve operational efficiency, as well as make our customer experience easier. So I got a lot of experience with a lot of different partners and excited about this panel today.
Great. Well, thank you. And we'll see you back in just a moment. Next up, I have Andrew Jones. Hi, Andrew.
Hey, everyone. Hey, Iris.
Hi. Andrew is with Just Storage. Andrew, you want to introduce yourself to everybody about what you guys do over there?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Andrew Jones. I'm the VP of third-party management and ancillary services over at Just Storage. Effectively, we own about 20 different facilities all across the country, all conversions, and we're really looking to diving into how can we go ahead and increase revenue, increase customer satisfaction, and make our investors excited about some of the new projects that we're doing. So really happy to be here, and thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. Okay, next up, Darren Kelly. How are you, Darren?
Yeah, Iris, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Darren is with Right Move Storage. Darren, you want to tell everybody about you and Right Move?
Yes, I'm the president of Right Move Storage. We're based out of Houston, Texas, but have a national footprint for third-party management. We have over 3 million square foot managed all over the place. And, we've really been looking at this. I love this subject today because we've been looking at automation quite a bit over the last few years and implementing a lot of it. And so I'm excited to share that with everybody today to maybe help point people in the right direction on how to utilize it to improve their operations, to reduce expenses, to grow some revenue, and really improve their customer service across the board. So we're real excited. We appreciate you all, and also appreciate Storage Defender for setting this up.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us. I'm going to bring everybody back. And I will let Mark, he's kind of our guest host today, so I'm going to just let him take over.
All right, so I need to hit the present button and then share screen or slides, right? There we go.
Yeah.
Let's try that. All right, we got it. All right, and then I hit present, slide. Okay, remind me how to advance. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. All right, so so guys, let's get right into it. I want to first start by really targeting why it's critical that when you guys are pursuing your 2025 budgets, why smart automation is a critical part of that. Okay. Why in your 2025 expense plan, among many things, are you guys looking at automation? Andrew, why don't you take a crack at that?
Yeah, I think the way that I kind of had the aha moment here was the amount of smart devices I have in my own home. And then I said to myself, let me just start asking our customers, how many smart devices do you have in your home? And I thought, why am I not doing this at my own facility today? And as I started to talk to other people in the industry, they are starting to think about it. So I said, okay, full stop. We need to go ahead and actually put in a line item in our budget for however many percentage for each facility for smart units, automated units, including Storage Defender, including DaVinci locks. Anything and everything is really what we're kind of looking for. So that's kind of what I'm looking for going into 2025 and how I had that aha moment.
Awesome. What about you, Darren?
Real similar. We've been seeing the rising costs. Of course, everybody knows insurance, and it's getting out of control, and the taxation, things that we don't control are hitting us really hard right now. And so everybody's hurting out there. And so, yeah, I pivoted the same way, saw the aha that we need to figure something out on the automation. And we've been able to, implement it in so many different ways that have allowed us to grow revenue, reduce expenses. And so in the budget, it's a very big part of our budget this year.
Okay, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's crucial for automation to be planning for 2025 for a few things. So one, operational efficiency. So as an operator myself, automated systems like smart locks, smart units, kiosks, virtual management, they reduce the need for on-site staff, streamlining daily operations and potentially lowering overhead costs. So this allows you to manage multiple facilities more effectively with fewer resources, ultimately helping companies like mine and yours scale. I think it also provides a lot of data-driven decision-making. So smart automation systems can collect a lot of valuable data, whether it be on unit occupancy or facility usage patterns. And this information can help, optimize pricing, marketing efforts, and different operational improvements. And really, the last thing I think automation has done as of late is just improve the customer experience. So smart automation should help improve the customer experience in the life cycle from move in to move out and everything in between.
No, that's an excellent summary, guys. If I were to kind of peg that from what I've heard, you've got everything from, like you just said, Matt, about increasing efficiency. Certainly when we're facing rising costs, whether it be, non-variable fixed, lower occupancies, you got to get more done with less. I heard about differentiating the customer experience and also about making more money. So I think you guys nailed it from my perspective. Let's go to the next place, and let's talk about increasing efficiency. How are you looking at ways of bringing in smart types of technologies? And there's a variety of them, right, Darren? Mm-hmm. What are some of the things that you're looking at to increase efficiency using automation? As again, you're thinking about not only what you've done in 2024, but now you're budget planning for 2025. What are the efficiency gains that you're looking for, and how are you gonna? What are you looking at budgeting?
Yeah, we built in our budget this year, and we're going to continue in next year a project which we call Inspects, which is powered by a platform called Form, which basically automated our property walkthrough, allowed us to capture capital expenditure items and maintenance items on an ongoing basis, with a dashboard so we can see where everybody's at, what we've got out there, and everybody can be a part of the solution. that has improved our efficiency at the property dramatically. Coupled with that, things such as at the regional level, when we're working with things like Bigfoot with Sparefoot and using, we can get a lot done. We're budgeting that next year across the board. So we can quickly be nimble with the bidding process aside Sparefoot. There's just so many things like that have really, that we're budgeting specifically for. I could go on, but it's a lot.
Cool. How about you, Andrew?
Yeah, as I saw 2024, it was, this was the baseline year. I mean, we used to be managed by one of the REITs, and we needed to just kind of get a baseline for owner operation. So, smart thermostats, smart cameras. I mean, the list kind of goes on at kind of like that base level. Let's just figure it out. And then as we kind of figured that out, right, let's go ahead and move in 2025, which is, looking at Storage Defender, looking at DaVinci locks for other kind of markets, looking at all these different kind of ways that we could go ahead and add more value to our properties in a more automated kind of way. So baseline 2024, 2025, really starting to ramp up into, things we've never done before.
Matt?
Sure. So I'll give you an example that was a benefit to us as a company and then just maybe a benefit to the customer. So we partner with Call Potential, and we utilize Collection Manager, and it really streamlined our collections by automating calls and having custom workflows where text messages, emails are automatically sent to the customers. One, ensuring we're compliant, but two, helping us have better collection efforts. And we've seen a decrease in our delinquency by 2% since implementing, which is pretty awesome. A benefit to the customer, we use Swivel, and they have a chatbot that goes on our website, and they help answer a lot of common service questions from our existing customers, like, hey, what's my gate code or what's my balance? And 68% of those questions being asked by our current customers are now answered by the Swivel chatbot, which frees up our staff to focus more on sales calls and property cleanliness.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I know when we talked about this before, I'm trying to remember which one of you. I thought it was you, Matt, but it might have been Andrew that talked about some novel uses or current uses and why you're looking at deploying a bit more on the cameras with AIs. You guys talked about people tracking and different functions to be more efficient. Which one of you guys commented on that? I don't remember.
Yes. Yeah, so that was definitely me. So our CTO over at Just Storage is just like a guru. I mean, he's just so intelligent. So we have this camera system. I'm trying to remember the exact vendor, but effectively what we do is if somebody walks into a facility and we type in guy with blue shirt, like it's a search bar on our security system, it will pull up all the pictures or all the film of a dude wearing a blue shirt. And it's powered by AI, and it makes like the job of our site manager so much easier. Security, just these kind of little small things that create long lasting efficiencies. So,
yes, I mean, when we're looking at the value, by the way, Darren or Matt, any further questions on your utilization of cameras in terms of efficiency gains that you're using cameras for?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't say camera specifically, but I will do a plug for you, Mark, just with Storage Defenders. We had an incident where we had a customer have a unit get broken into and received a text message, which was then he was able to call the police. We were then able to get the timestamp from when that happened based on the text message. And we were able to go to our camera system very easily, pinpoint it, get the video, get it to the police, and we got the guy caught very quickly. So one great piece of equipment that you guys have that have made the customer experience much better and brought a lot of peace of mind.
Well, and I think, and I appreciate that. And I think that's kind of on the right side. Let me ask you this. I'm totally ad hoc right now, but what could have just been only a negative customer experience, what was the customer's perception and feedback after that went down?
They became a walking advertisement, not only for our property, but for your product as well. Very happy, very, what could have been very bad turned out to be very good because it was been able to minimize the damage through that communication.
Well, and that's the key, right? So how do we use automation to improve value from a tenant's perspective, tenant satisfaction, not just reducing costs? So that's an example where you took a bad to a good by incorporating things like smart monitoring. What other kinds of things are you guys doing to improve tenant satisfaction? Matt, anything else that you guys are doing on tenant satisfaction?
Yeah, so I mean, on tenant satisfaction, we're doing a lot, but maybe the one that comes to mind is just an abandoned cart. So we have an automated process that all of our abandoned reservations from rentals or inquiries on our website go straight to the property in our lead management software. And this just allows us to follow up since they've shown an interest, and we try to highlight a promotion to entice them to actually rent. And since doing this, we've seen a giant lift in our reservation conversion, going from 50 to 58%. We're actually closing close to 60% of all the abandoned leads that are coming over to us prior to automating that process. But most importantly, we've shown that our customers that we care and that we actually are taking an interest in their business. And we can back this up as well, Mark, just through our Net Promoter Score. So our Net Promoter Score for our moving customers is up significantly. We're currently at a 93% with our NPS score, which just kind of highlights some of the automation that we've put in place. It is actually working with the surveys that we're getting back from our tenants.
Yeah, I just want to call that out. Like, great data from just about 50% to 58% improvement in the abandoned cart, right? In terms of securing those rental, and a Net Promoter Score. For those of you who don't know it, Net Promoter Score is when you get those surveys where you have a score of 1 to 10, and they say, would you recommend this location or this storage facility to a friend? When you answer a 9 or a 10, you're a promoter. Anything under 6 is a detractor. You substitute that percentage of promoter from detractor, and you have a Net Promoter Score. They're industry benchmarks. It's a way to measure your customer satisfaction, which is what we're talking about. Matt, 93% is off the charts.
That's amazing.
That's incredible. Right, Iris? I mean,
Yeah.
Iris, you use NPS.
Oh yeah, that's a fantastic. I mean, what an improvement and an accomplishment. That's fantastic.
Andrew, what about you on the on improving tenant satisfaction? What investments or how do you see value with automation?
Yeah, I mean, kind of the same anecdote as Matt was saying. That same kind of technology we utilize with our camera system. Yeah, we decided to do it because it just makes our life easier. But we did have a specific tenant that actually walked in and said, "Hey, it was later in the day. We saw a guy in a blue shirt he was just a little too creepy." And we pulled it up quickly, took care of it, called the police, and again, walking advertisement for us. So as I kind of look at automation, I think of like death by 1,000 cuts, because when I go to ask a site manager, what do you do every day? And you can get 100 different answers, and you say, well, what if we just condense it down? And that's really, like I said, what 2024 has been all about. Let's cut all of those little things down to make site managers and the call center agents as efficient as possible.
Okay, that's good. Utilizing the call centers and getting the call centers more efficient. And we'll talk about that in a sec. I'm going to come back to it, but how are you guys investing in call centers? So I'll hold that because we're coming up on a slide on that in a bit. Darren, why don't you close this one out? How do you guys value automation to improve your tenant experiences? What are you seeing?
Well, definitely, and they say value it. We value it greatly. There's only so many things you can put in at one time. So I think, what we've really been focused on probably most recently has been the continued implementation and execution of Storage Defender for us, which is a great tool. Thank you, Mark and team. But also, smart lock technology and smart unit access technology, we'll call it that. There's several vendors out there. We use most of them, from DaVinci to Kiss locks to moving into Noki. So we have a variety of ways that people are getting into their units, but that has really improved the tenant or the customer experience there, and it made it less painful and made it more efficient. That's been great and well received. But our customers on Storage Defender, I mean, we have a 70% advocacy rate among tenants who rent the smart unit service, and we got tons of positive Google reviews coming from it, which helps all of our SEO and everything. And then like a 41% reduction in insurance losses. So we basically are having no break-ins anymore. If you have the banner that says Storage Defender on your fence, criminals generally now are going, don't go there. So that's and it's reflected in the benefits of the customer, because they don't have a deductible associated with the insurance policy, the protection policies we use. So that's really a really great point.
Yeah, that's excellent feedback, Darren. By the way, there was a case study done on Rightmove Storage. For those who are interested, you can either put a comment in here or just go to our website. We did a press release on it. All that data and more is in that case study that was done with Darren. Yeah, it's really interesting. You guys all just brought data to the table. You talked about, in your case, Matt, I like the thing about the abandoned cart, because a lot of people might not think of that as tenant satisfaction. But when tenants don't just create the need to move, like you either have to store or you don't have to store. And to have someone come back with a special offer could actually be a distressor or a reminder of, they're in that process. And so to cut down on the friction, I could see how even getting a rental where we're excited about it is actually improved experience. And certainly, what you mentioned, Andrew, just the assistance, being where he's on the property, that extra hand. And then Darren, obviously, you talked about advocacy. I mean, what's the better measurement? Actually, Matt, you did as well with NPS. So that's a great way to test tenant experiences with advocacy. All right, let's move on to the next section, identifying investments. Okay. And that's really what the theme is about. Like, what are those investments? We're going to keep hovering on that. We'll even talk about how you guys are measuring your return on investment. But in this question, when you guys are looking at 2025, like, let's get specific. What are the areas you're trying to improve once again? And what are those specific technology choices that you're either going to invest more in, or you're going to newly try out, or something in between? Okay. Darren, let's swing back to you.
Sure. We are really right now working toward enhancing the web, our web situation with e-commerce. That is a big thing for me in 2025. And then the other thing we're looking at are things like the call center. We use Call Potential and love the collection manager and all that kind of stuff. But listening to calls is a challenge in the volume we need and to evaluate how well we're doing. So we are actually right now working with an AI company that has a service that actually will listen to the calls and actually score the calls for us by agent and give us incredible information and data about how well we're doing on our call center. We can even link it to the ones that close. And so we can understand what did we do well, what did we not a gotcha deal, but an educational deal. And we believe it's going to substantially improve our ability to close reservations, and the process will be more efficient.
Andrew.
So, I mean, I'm obsessed with this. When it comes to ancillary income, I absolutely just delve into it, love it. And I have about 6 to 7 different vendors across our 20 different properties that I'm like, I want to go ahead and implement. These things range from smart locks to storage defender to above ground fuel tanks, solar. And the way that I kind of look at these investments is 2 major things. One, is it going to bring us extra revenue? 2, are the customers going to be happier because of this? And that's really it. I mean, these kind of ancillary income streams moving forward, it's kind of new, but also at the same time, you see it done in multifamily, you see it done in all these other asset classes. So,
hey, Andrew, I'm going to go there. So, Andrew, that movie we talked about before. What's that movie? What's that chant?
Oh, come on. I'm a Sun Devil, baby. Show me the money.
Show me the money. Remember that movie, right? Iris, come on. Right?
Show me the money.
That's effectively every conversation.
That's the truth, right? With all this compression in rates and teaser rates and the games that are being played out there, you bet, and rising costs, Andrew. I mean, and I know we all talked about it, offsetting that with ancillary services to not only stabilize, but hopefully stabilize, but do better with your P&Ls are that important. Matt, how about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we look at any type of investment that we're going to make, we want to make sure, one, that it's a benefit to our employees. Is it going to make their lives easier? Is there going to be a benefit to our customers and the customer life cycle? Will it help us grow and scale? Because that's obviously our goal at Prestige, is to go from 60 to 100 stores. And then, ultimately, like you were just saying, we want to make that money, right, as well. So it's got to be a return. So one of the things that we're looking at heavily into 2025 is virtual management. We have explored that option. We run a lot of manned properties, but also have become very efficient with hub and spoke. We don't want to be left behind with some of the technology, but what excites me about virtual is you can get some of your best employees in front of all of your customers. And one of the biggest pain points in my side of my business with operations is how do we train people efficiently to get them to follow all of our processes and best practices. So to be able to streamline that and get, our best people in front of our best customers, we think we can make a giant impact, both to our revenue, but also to some of our labor costs.
No, that's good. Yeah. I like how you focused a lot on the value there. Let's go a little bit more into the technology choices. We have a little bit of time. I want to go into that a little bit further. Darren, I know that you're evaluating a couple things. I don't recall you actually mentioning it. I believe you're actually looking into things like lock technology a little bit more. Maybe you could just comment. I know you at least commented on in our pre. So maybe comment on where you're at with that, whether you're going to play or not play going into next year.
Yeah, I thank you, Mark. I definitely I'm looking really hard at NFT technology, which is really kind of cutting edge. That doesn't require wiring. It doesn't require a lot of infrastructure costs, but yields the same effect, which is to automate the opportunity for the customer to access their unit. So there's a couple of things I looked out at there. One especially I'm evaluating now, and I'll just say it is KISS locks. They've got we also use DaVinci, but on the KISS lock situation, they have a hasp-driven and a disc lock style locking mechanism that you can use on your units that actually just uses power from someone's cell phone in order to access the unit. And if they haven't paid, it also disables that ability to get into the unit. And so it's the cost difference is significant. And so that's I'm having to weigh that cost versus the benefit side on that. But yes, I'm looking very hard into that, implementing that across my full brand.
Matt or Andrew, anything you guys would want to comment on that in your own operations? All right. So then, Andrew, you identified it. We even pulled it out on the slide a little bit. I mean, every time I bring up ancillary services, you get excited visibly. I think everyone saw it. But I think the two that kind of your top two or three, just key in on a little bit more that what you're really thinking through for 2025 and a little bit more as to why. Just get a little bit more detailed into that.
Yeah. So obviously being here, smart unit monitoring, it just makes sense. I mean, it just does. So that's probably going to be number one. Number two is going to actually be locks. I mean, we are kind of looking at more different kind of lock solutions, but the way I look at locks, it's different tools for different types of jobs. I'm not going to need a Janus no key on a bunch of drive ups in the middle of nowhere, Ohio. It just doesn't make sense, but I might use DaVinci. So that's kind of how I've been looking at that and really kind of budgeting for 2025 when I'm working with partners or our own portfolio, whatever. But the one I am so excited about is the above ground fuel tanks. Shout out to AMS. They are a wonderful company, but they pretty much said, we're going to go ahead and put a gas station in front of your facility. And I was like, you're insane. But they said, no, we'll take all the liability. You get your profit share, and then you get to share it with your own partners. And I was like, this actually sounds pretty cool. So as far as kind of the top three, those are kind of the top three.
And will it be fuel or will you have Tesla charging stations?
No, we're actually looking. They do Tesla charging stations as well. It just kind of depends. What does the market look like? More affluent, less affluent?
Interesting. Hey, Matt, over to you. I remember when we chatted, kind of what you were kind of wrestling with in our build up for this is how you're looking through technology choices related to manned versus unmanned. Maybe why don't you kind of be our sort of initiator of that discussion? What's going through your mind there as head of operations at Prestige?
Yeah, it's a great lead, Mark. So again, I don't think there's one best way to run a property. There's a lot of people will tell you, manned is the right way or virtual is the best. There's maybe it's somewhere in between, right? And I think it has to make sense for your particular stores, your particular geography, and just your level of comfort. With us, we're always looking for ways to minimize our costs. And one of those is through virtual management, right? How do we get our best people in front of more, whether that's through hub and spoke, and we can partner with companies like DaVinci to make that easier. We've been looking at Store Ease or KISS from the virtual platforms just to get an idea of what that would look like. But I think the biggest thing is understanding your geography and your tenant base to know what they may like, and maybe not trying to put a round peg into a square hole type deal, right? Making sure that we're meeting the customers. It should be first and foremost with their needs, and not trying to create any type of demand that maybe is not there. So again, I think that's why we're always looking at things, but our end goal is how do we become as efficient as possible? How do we hopefully be able to run 100 stores the same way I can at 63 with the same cost, right? And that's where my head is always at.
Are you finding for yourself there's a certain natural, is it a market specific, or as you're looking to invest and make that line, is it a certain size of facility? What are the sort of parameters that you're considering?
I think there's a lot of case studies out there showing that it'll work in an urban market or a rural market, virtual. The way we look at it is it's got to make sense from the dollars and cents standpoint. A lot of times that comes through how large a facility is. So obviously, the larger it is, sometimes the more you can make that work. If it's a small 200 unit facility, sometimes it makes it tough to do there. But if it is remote and it's not by itself and it's not around other locations to turn it into a hub and spoke, then maybe it still makes sense. But you got to weigh the licensing fees and the costs versus what is the actual benefit of moving that direction.
Sure. Well, that's a good segue, Matt. So we're talking a lot about a lot of things. And I know some of you are out there are bigger operators, but some of you might have your own location, right? You're a mom and pop, as we like to call it, right? And so you might be thinking like, my God, I'm already struggling. This year was not the year that I thought it was going to be, or I'm a new operator. There's so many choices. How do I go ahead and make decisions? So guys, it's wonderful. We talked about a potpourri of topics. You even talked about your own focuses, but let's get more specific. Like, what are the key metrics as you guys are deciding what makes your top 2 or 3, like I asked each of you, what are those key metrics that you're using? And if you have any case study examples to kind of illustrate that to make it more tangible, that would be great. Let me swing it over to you, Darren.
Yeah, we really look for a 30 to 50% split for the owners, looking for, on the profit line. And it's got to be, we like to have it pay off in at least a year. So after that, we're straight profit. So, when you're looking at something even like Storage Defender, we benefit from growing that. And then our owners benefit as well. And as long as we're hitting our 30 to 50% return on it, everybody's happy. And so from tenant insurance to that to locks, we're even, as we move to e-commerce, going to be putting in, for instance, on automation, have an automated lock, an access fee going onto the customer's accounts, and being able to access the recurring charge function of software. So, yeah, that it's 30 to 50 is what we look for. And
30 to 50% split. I took a note, and a year payback. So obviously you got to have those tangible payback. You've got to be able to are investments easier for you if, what about those investments that don't have a clear profit or revenue stream? Like, I want to come back because you've given us your metrics. Let's go back. Let's go over to Andrew. Andrew, same question to you. And then I want to see where you guys net out. Then I'm going to come back and ask you all a question. Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, so it's very similar to Darren. We look at what is the generation of the revenue going to be within 12 months, just a flat first year implementing. What does that look like? However, we look at it a little bit differently. We actually see what the cap rate is going to be after we implement this. And what would this look at when we go to sell it? Is it going to be easy for lenders to get it? Is it going to be easy for buyers to get this service? And is it going to be easy for them to continue to implement this so we get the right sale price? So that's really how we kind of look at it, but very similar to Darren.
Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I may talk more general here, but, we're always looking at the customer acquisition and retention. So, how many new customers are acquired after the implementation of said automation? At the end of the day, is it helping us drive more move-ins, which will help us drive more revenue? Obviously, like I mentioned before, we're always looking for cost savings. So did the automation impact typically labor costs or some reduction in cost that is leading to an ROI? We try to have like a technology stack meeting as well, just because we do have so many different technologies and automation that we have. And sometimes you forget what you're paying for. And it's really important to understand what that looks like and evaluate it. And we try to do that quarterly on our staff with our leadership team to make sure that, is there an opportunity that we can maybe go out and try to get a better discount from one of our vendors and utilize some of our leverage, or, do we need to go evaluate other, opportunities in that same level? So, but we're always looking at our acquisition cost, ROI, increased revenue, cost savings, just the general stuff.
Okay. All right. So another sort of related question to all of you guys on this is, okay, if you, Andrew, or any of you have an ancillary service, that's a clear, tangible return on investment, right? If you raise the rates using a dynamic revenue management tool, there's a clear ROI on that, right? Conversion times extra rate profitability. But what about those investments that are, efficiency improvements or a little bit more difficult to put your hands on? Like, I don't know, it's a little bit of a malleable, like a fungible question, but I mean, again, you guys are trying to make priority decisions. There's a fixed amount of money, and some will argue less going into next year. On the ones that have a little bit less direct to a top line or a bottom line, how do you guys stack those up against the ones that do or don't you? And any one of you can jump in. Go ahead.
I'll just jump in real quick and tell you that the reason why I worked with Forum and created Inspects for my company was because I saw a need for more operational efficiency. And that's not really easy to quantify into dollars and cents. But, I knew that from the customer experience, having a better maintained property, one with better follow-up, one with better communication regarding capital expenditures, and try to do that across the country from Houston or wherever. I mean, it was hard to see that doesn't pay off in dollars and cents, but there are some decisions I make like that where it's literally internal customer I'm serving.
Okay. Any other comments on that?
I think it just goes back to if there's not a clear ROI, I do think that you have to evaluate, like, what is the benefit to your employees? Does it make the work environment better? Does it make their job easier? Are they able to accomplish more? And you can kind of learn about that. And the same thing with your customers, like Darren was saying, like, is there a benefit to the customers as well? And you can stack that up and see that through, NPS scores or other Google reviews or other things to see and get some feedback from your customers. So when the ROI is a little bit tougher to see, I think it has to go back to, does it make an impact to your employees and your customers?
If I might add one more thing, Mark, I'm sorry. But when it comes to, for instance, one of the things I think about is from a third-party management perspective, and Andrew was talking about at exit, and definitely I analyzed that. But what I want to say is one of the things I think about is these kind of things: Storage Defender, Inspects, all these different types of things, locks. As a third-party management company, I can tell you I've held on to I probably hold on to about 20%, 15 to 20% of the exits at sale to manage the property for the next owner when I have these things in there and they know that I know how to execute it versus somebody who doesn't offer that. I've actually
that's an interesting.
I've had REITs turned down to have me manage in place of them because these technologies they refuse to continue. So just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, no, and I mean, my view as also an owner of a business, I want everything to have a clear ROI. I think that's one of our themes. Like, if you can attribute having to go to lighter staff, you have a fractional of a head count, right? Then that goes into the ROI. Or if you have churn, right? Matt was talking about a 95% NPS. That means he's probably got lower churn, right? If by doing certain things, improving website, improving communications, you have better churn with your tenants or lower churn, that can go into your ROI. These have got to be assumptions when we're talking about budgeting for next year. Employee satisfaction, what's the cost to hire a new employee, right? What's the impact on productivity? I think we have to have the discipline to not make off the cuff decisions and try to put it into your P&L, because look, there's less margin, there's less profitability in this space going in, not only this year, going into 2025. I think things are just getting tighter. And along those lines, let's move to the next slide, which is challenges, right? So you guys are all perfect. Everything you guys have talked about, you've seamlessly implemented without issue, right? Let me see nods of heads, right? No, right? there's always issues and challenges in automation projects, right? So let's get real on this a little bit. Swinging back to you, Darren, of the things that you have implemented, where have you had some challenges, or where do you expect challenges with the investments that you're making, just to kind of calibrate people in this area?
I'll kind of go back to, I've been doing this for a long time. As you can tell, I'm the oldest looking guy on the panel. But, I've done stuff like proximity marketing in the past and cloud storage in the past and things like that. I've tried so many different things to differentiate myself. The proximity was really interesting. I went in on it, and then basically Google changed Nearby and eliminated it as a tool for that reason. Cloud storage went from being something people valued to something that they were getting for lower amounts of money. And so, that's the kind of thing that sometimes the factors, you have a great idea and then things change on you. But in terms of some of the other things, the e-commerce stuff. I'm so far ahead of like where everything behind me is that it's difficult. I don't have the creation of the vehicle is probably my bigger challenge.
Right.
To be able to execute,
Sure. Andrew, how about you? What challenges or obstacles or unexpected obstacles have you encountered, or, obviously what do you anticipate encountering for challenges, either side of it?
Yeah, to kind of give credence to what I'm about to say, we used to be managed by a REIT, a couple of different REITs, and then we said they're just not flexible enough to what we want to do with the properties that we own, right? So moving forward, when it comes to giving advice to somebody else in this kind of aspect, work with a vendor. Storage Defender is wonderful at this, at being flexible. Hey, we get it. We understand. We want to go ahead and make this more successful. And that's one of our biggest pain points is we need to have a really good vendor that really gets it and says, hey, we're shifting left. Okay, well, we'll shift left with you. Great, wonderful. Instead of hearing the same old rigmarole of, you're not going to get that report. We're going to say no. To Darren's point, they said no to a lot of things we wanted to do. And, now we're doing it ourselves.
I got to say, just listening to that, it just dawned on me, we get asked a lot of questions about, for example, scalability of a platform or extensibility, which of course we've got a highly extensible and scalable platform, but it's on people's minds if they're smart, right? But in what you just said, how about the property management company who is managing your properties? Do they have scalable processes? Do they have extensible processes? Are they flexible? Do they have the people force that are flexible, right? It's not just the technology, it's also the processes and the support that's in place too. I didn't really pick that up when we were prepping for this. Matt, your thoughts on the topic of challenges that you've encountered and, what you've contended?
Yeah, so I would say the biggest challenge that we face stems from communication around the change or the initiative, right? So we have been late in our communication and at times not transparent enough with our team, which has caused some challenges. We have tried to continue to learn from this, and we're always thinking about, how change of any kind will affect our employees and try to get out in front of it. So that's a challenge. A big obstacle that we have faced is sometimes just out of pure excitement about rolling out a new initiative, we have implemented too fast. And we have said, hey, instead of rolling out in multiple phases, we're just like, yeah, let's do it all at 60 properties. And we were just excited and then it bombed, right? So I think you have to, be smart about implementation and make sure that it goes well so that you avoid that obstacle that we have faced on a few occasions.
It's very interesting just listening to you again. Automation sounds great. It's an in vogue word, right? But the things that people are, we're adaptable creatures, right? Right. We're many of us are adaptable. We can adapt to process inefficiencies, right? When you automate a process, depending on how you're automating, it kind of has to know what its workflow is. And sure, artificial intelligence will make it a bit better. But, absolutely what Matt said, and I think we talked about it as well, is just a phased in plan. Don't go too hard, too fast until you validate each of the steps. You've run into that. Guys, let's move to kind of as we start to wind down here. Let's gaze into the future a bit and look at what you think are maybe game changers over the next few years. Maybe pick one that you're the most excited about. I'll give you two, but we're going to be a little bit brief on this. 1 to 2 that you're the most excited about, not only in 2025, but you might even start investing in 2025 for 2026 and beyond. Yeah, let's swing back to you, Matt.
Yeah, I think I brought this up earlier, but I think for me, it's virtual management. I think it's going to continue to gain some momentum. As I mentioned before, there's not a right way to run a property, but it's hard to ignore solutions like virtual management that help reduce increasing labor costs or help drive revenue by getting your best employees in front of your customers. So at Prestige, we're exploring any and all options and doing our due diligence around the best solutions for our different property classes and geography. But that's the one I'm most excited to learn more about and potentially try to implement.
Okay, Andrew.
Yeah, I would say it's really kind of the rising e-commerce, right? I want to be able to go to our self-storage website today and it's just like Amazon. Hey, other customers went ahead and bought these 3 things. And these 3 things are smart unit, this particular DaVinci lock, and maybe they got an extra storage unit. And it's not there today. I mean, we're kind of getting there. I mean, we're trying to adjust storage. But once I get to that point, that is probably one of the number 1 things I'm most excited about moving forward.
So in other words, taking the best merits from beyond self-storage and what looks futuristic to us, so to speak, is being well deployed in other, for example, applications like in e-commerce and getting up to there. That's what you're the most excited about at this point, one of the most.
Yeah, I was going to say, I heard a great quote at the last SSA. He said, R&D is not R&D. It's called rip off and distribute. And I was like, oh my God, yes, I'm trying to take these things in multifamily today or any other asset class and bring them into self-storage because, we would benefit from it.
Very good. Darren.
Yeah, all the other things, these guys are giving great feedback for everybody. And thank you guys. For me, on top of these other things they're doing as well, the management, the facility management system is what is currently, I think it has to evolve. It has to get better. We have to be able, I'm looking in the future for to have all of these e-commerce things built into that. But I'm also going to say, the reporting and the dashboard analysis and things of that nature are very weak in our industry in terms of what's available for us to just plug into our FMS or maybe our accounting systems and have it feed us internal data in our companies to be more efficient. And Mark, you and I we've had exhaustive conversations about this. So yeah, in addition to that, I also don't think that anybody has it. I mean, I'm on the hunt. I'll put it that way. I'm on the hunt, but I don't think anybody's even. We're maybe hitting singles right now. I don't see triples and home runs, and so I'm excited about seeing more of that.
So to summarize, Matt, you're taking a hard look and excited about kind of the impacts of all the latest technologies and the new coming technologies on remote management. On your side, Andrew, you're looking at, sort of the Amazon, if you will, really driving up the e-commerce and all those techniques. Darren, you kind of latched on to that, but you're also talking about better presentation and utilization of data and what that can do to drive your operations. So good stuff, guys. All right, I'm going to give you guys 30 seconds, and we're going to leave the balance of the time for any Q&A. 30 seconds. What one piece of advice would you guys have? Let's take it to a mom and pop. I'm changing it on you guys. Mom and pop. One piece of advice for a small operator facing what feels in some cases like a market with very big challenges coming into 2025 as they look at automation. Who wants to start that?
I'll jump in.
Go.
So I would say prioritize scalable, customer-centric automation that enhances your tenant experience and operational efficiency simultaneously. So any automated solution that you invest in should integrate well with your existing infrastructure and hopefully offer a clear path to benefits like, increased revenue, reduced costs, and, better occupancy, et cetera, et cetera.
Andrew.
Yeah, this last year was rough for anybody, right? Particularly mom and pops. And a lot of us are backed into a corner. So when you're backed into a corner, the only way to go is just forward. So I would just say pick one of these that interests you the most, that you think you could really wrap your head around, and just do it, because guaranteed your competitors in your 5 mile at some point are going to do the same thing. So be the first.
Yeah, I'll wrap it up. Great job, Andrew and Matt. And I'll just say that, like, I heard a phrase one time, someone told me, do one of something, you know, so you got to begin. And so I would say this much. If anybody's ever read Ken Blanchard's Who Moved the Cheese book, it's really small. You ought to get it. I started with 0 properties and built this company from there, along with my partners. And I know what it's like, and I've owned my own restaurants in my past. And so I know what it's like to go hand to mouth. I know what it's like to fight for every penny. I know what it's like to lose when you thought you were going to win and then come back and win later. But, you know, when the cheese moves, move and do it quickly. Otherwise, you're going to waste a lot of time and still go to do it, or you're going to be the person who just never moves. And I don't want anyone to be that. And so my hope is that you'll move, go find the cheese.
Yeah, I think good summary. Like, the stuff that has worked in the past is not necessarily going to work going forward, because there is a shift, but we shouldn't also do it from fear either, right? There's a lot of resources, a lot of help in our industry. The SBOA is one of them. And all you guys will have your contact information. I believe you guys are all available for questions on anything we talked about. I know I picked the 3 of you guys because you're all very giving, and you know, you're not going to charge for your time. You just value the community and helping us as a community move forward. So that's part of what our job here is at SBOA and working with SBOA. So Iris, any thoughts while we wait for any questions? I'm not seeing as many questions today. We're certainly willing to take any. We
have one question from Chad. He's said that he saw a line on one of the slides about tenant moving services. Do any of you have examples of who you use?
Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, I could take that one. So there's 2. There's one called Lug. There's another one called Dolly. Just think of like Uber for moving. So you have your phone and like, hey, I want to get my stuff out of my unit. And somebody like a gig worker goes and gets that stuff. Well, I love it because I can actually see all the data of our actual facility managers giving out the cards and seeing how many moves we get at our facility. And it's quite fascinating stuff.
Yeah, there was another company, as one of my friends, his name is Zach. He had a company called Caddy Moving. Help me out, Darren. But I think they changed the name to like Brick and Mortar or Brick and Moving. What do you remember that? What is it?
Yeah, no, we used them. They were based out of Austin. It was working pretty well, but the difficulty they had was going out, getting scale in other markets. But they had an app, and it was really interesting. Basically, people, we could refer them. People would be able to go on to the app and book their own thing, and then the property actually got a commission based on the move when it transpired.
Yeah.
So it was a win-win scenario. I'm sure, like Lug or Volley.
Yeah, it's the same.
Any other questions out there? Iris, do you have any questions, any observations from the session today?
You guys are just rock stars. Thank you so much for coming on today and sharing all this information. I do want to ask our audience to just quickly check. We have 4 poll questions out there. If you can answer them quickly, we have poll question number 1. Have you implemented automation into your operations? If so, which ones? Let us know. Poll question number 2, what challenges have you faced in implementing automation and how did you overcome them? Throw it in the chat. Let's talk about it. And poll question number 3, how do automation technologies enhance the tenant experience? And what metrics do you use to measure their success? Poll question number 4, when evaluating new technology for your facility, what are the most important factors you consider? So if you can pop any of your answers into the chat, we will have a Starbucks gift card for the person who will do a little drawing and let you know who the winner is.
All right. Well, I think as we wait here, it's going to be an interesting end of year as we ramp up, wind down a little bit, but also ramp up for 2025. Again, I'm very, just thinking about all our friends, the way I started it. I had a tough time sleeping last night because we had people in the industry. Any one of these people could have been on this. Some of my friends that could have been on this call right here presenting. Some chose to stay and ride it out, and I'm looking at it from Dallas, and so not there. So I hope we find only good reports from friends and colleagues and companies, but certainly I know even with Helene, there was a lot of impact. So for those of you watching that have duked it out, we still are thinking about you, and again, we know a lot of you are still going through stuff and still working through, even up in Asheville and all those areas, through some pretty serious stuff. So anything else, Iris? I think we're about there.
One more question, and that would be, how do you balance the need for automation with maintaining a personal touch in customer service? Does anybody have examples of that, especially in markets that would prioritize human interaction, like maybe senior communities and things like that?
I mean, I'll jump in on that one. I mean, I think Matt said earlier, talking about the people piece and market as well. Just the fact that training the people and getting them sold on it first to understand it, I think is the key then to delivering it to the customer. And so, yeah, I would say that to me is the link that can really cause it not to work. The communication of it and teaching people how to understand it and how to help others understand it.
Yeah, definitely. Anyone else?
I would just say, I think you're always going to need people in some capacity, right? Even if you go virtual, you still need people on the properties. You still want them to interact with customers, at least I do, and ask questions on how things are going. So it shouldn't be sacrificing service with automation. They should work hand in hand.
Definitely.
I sit on obviously the technology side of this, but I think that we just need to use common sense, right? I asked my team the other day, they were making some sales calls and they showed me some of their communications. I'm like, how would you have responded to that? Not good, right? I'm like, then why are you doing it, right? And so I think our user interfaces, our user experiences, app, no app, call center, no call center, who's making the calls, who's answering the calls, what do the communications look like? I think we got to use common sense. If I was on the receiving end of that, paying for rent, how would I feel about that, right? And I think, Matt, you didn't say it, but in our prep on this, you talked about a little bit of beware for the shiny coin, right? I don't remember. You had a different way of describing it. And some reason, I think you were talking about a sharp knife or a dull knife, but I don't remember what your explanation was. But we have to be careful also to not go over what looks like the most sophisticated. Smart automation does not mean expensive and highly sophisticated. It means automation, and you can't give up your customer experience. So my message is, the complicated isn't always right. Use your common sense. How would you feel as a customer with that experience?
Absolutely. Well, on that note, I want to thank everyone. We've gone just a little bit over time, but that's great. And again, I want to remind the audience, you will be getting a replay link so you can see all of this. You'll get the slide deck. You'll get the resources we mentioned. And I just want to thank everybody for coming out today. Again, our hearts go out to everyone affected by the hurricanes. We're going to play that resources video one more time before we cut out. And I'm going to take everyone off screen. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
And I just want to let everybody know we will be back in 2 weeks on Thursday, October 24th for another episode of Self-Storage Unlocked. This time we will be discussing how to maximize your online visibility. And we will be joined by Jeannie Dotson and Jason Lee with the Storage Group. So we'll put the link in the chat. You'll also get that email reminder so you can register. Don't miss it. And just remember, if you're an enhanced member, you can go in and watch all of this live right on our website. You don't have to register. You can skip that line. And I'm going to play those resources video one more time. Everybody have a wonderful day and stay safe out there.